between the Toros and the Bruins. David, what were your first thoughts when you saw the Toros and Bruins locked in for round one?
I mean, I think three of us actually talked about a Toronto four-game series that we all had a feeling that this is what it was going to be. Bismarck has just been on top of the division all season long. It didn't seem like they were really going to be slowing down. So I think in everybody's mind it was going to be Minot versus Austin, especially the way that series was split. And I think it's very fitting, especially after last year. Now this is my first year with the Austin Bruins, so I wasn't here for last playoffs, but I think it's a nice little revenge tour this year that the Bruins are on to try and redeem themselves after last year's first round sweep by Minot.
Yeah, David, I agree with you. And I think the most important thing that jumped out to me were these are two teams that really don't like each other. You saw 5 ejections over the past 4 games, which came in 2 of the last 4 weekends of the regular season. Davin Nichols twice, Hubert Clark, Xander Lipset, and Tyler Shaver. And I think the physicality of this series is really what caused it. The Bruins play a physical style of hockey, and the Toros responded with physicality, which is what I think makes this series just so much fun.
I mean, the Bruins all season long have been a very physical team. One thing that they've also struggled with a little bit is sometimes is being able to finish those checks. And I think in that series, like you said, these two teams, there's no love lost between the two of them. And I think, being able to kind of have that physical style of game, setting the tone early on. I think that's what Coach Steve Howard is really looking for. And I mean, you look at some of those games where the Bruins were being physical, and it led to some great chances. It led to some great offensive opportunities. And like you mentioned, it also led to some people not being able to stay in the game anymore. And I think come playoff time, I think the thing that both teams need to focus on is, yeah, let's be physical, but let's keep it at a point where we're not losing, 2 or 3 skaters a game.
And that's been the history of this rivalry, right? You look, I know this is your first year in Austin, but I've been here seemingly forever. And you look at the Toros, they've always been a smaller, skilled, fast team. The Bruins have always had size, going back to guys like Jay Dickman forever years ago, right? Always a big physical team, especially under Steve Howard. So it's two competing styles of play. And I think a lot of times the series comes down to which team gets to play their style.
I think for the Toros, it's so important to stay out of the penalty box, especially given how the Bruins were on the power play over that stretch.
A lot of times the series comes down to which team gets to play their.
An advantage. So the Toros need to respond with physicality, but it still needs to be clean because when they went down a man, it was really damaging over those 4 games.
I mean, special teams has been important for Austin all season long, and I know the coaching staff puts that heavy emphasis on the special teams. There early on in the season, the penalty kills struggled, the power play struggled, and it wasn't until that the Black and Gold kind of figured that out that's when the dominance just started to show in that first half of the season. Well, you were talking about the power play there. Look at the penalty kill for the Bruins. They were able to kill off 31 of 33 power plays in the last 6 games. That last power play they allowed was against Minot. These last 4 games in April didn't allow a single power play. And I think what stood out to me the last time these two teams fought it out was that, I mean, Minot's been dominant on both sides of special teams, on the power play and on the penalty kill, been top in the league in both of those. And the Bruins were really able to shut down the power play, only allowing 2 power play goals, and were, like you said, able to really dominate the penalty kill.
Yeah, Toro's penalty kill struggled of late, though. It started really that weekend against the Bruins. I think that at home, that Friday night game, Toros were in control until a 5-minute major at the end. And all of a sudden, there was a goal on a 4-on-4 and then 3 on that power play. That really flipped that game from a 2-1 Toros win, I believe, to a 5-2 Toro loss. So special teams will be a huge key. And as Evan mentioned, discipline, probably something that Cody Campbell has his guys focusing on as we get ready for the playoffs this weekend.
like you said, that Friday at the Pepsi rink, Bruins went 4 for 7 on the power play, kind of due to that fact. One of those did come on the empty net, and one of those might have been played with a high stick before it ended up in the back of the net. So maybe those numbers were a touch inflated, but still, I think it tells the same story of just how important discipline is going to be. So, David, we talk all year with the Toros about the top two lines, and they have provided a bulk of the production, combining for 367 points. But I just want to clarify with you. I think we know the first line is Alex Lorenza, EJ Paddington, and Luke Mulcazian. Who is that second line going to compose of?
And that's the beauty of this season is Coach Howard and the coaching staff, assistant coach Robbie Murray, associate head coach Al Rooney. They do like to shake things up. If there's something that it doesn't work one game, they'll throw someone else onto a line. The only line all season long, aside from these teams, has been that what we call the Canadian line of Alex Lorenzo, Luke Mulcazian, and EJ Paddington. I think the second line usually consists of the likes of Jackson Riley, occasionally Connor Beckwith. Those two had kind of meshed with each other well this season. They've been shaken up a little bit more. Now it looks a little bit more like Jackson Riley and the addition of John Hirschfeld. They've been paired together a little bit more, and then whoever is on that left wing, that's actually rotated a lot. The last couple of weeks, including against that Minot series. It started off with Jake Sprates. We've seen the likes of Trace Day on that as well, and even Gavin Haruza has gone to that left wing of that second line. Usually it's Captain Jackson Riley and John Hirschfeld who have really been meshing together really well. Hirschfeld played his high school season with St. Cloud Cathedral this year, led his team to a state runner-up in Minnesota hockey, which is not an easy thing to do. He was also named a finalist for Mr. Hockey Minnesota, and he's come back for his second year, and he's been incredible since joining the Bees once again.
Talk about John Hirschfeld, and his first series of the year was against the Toros out in Austin. And quite frankly, he looked spectacular. He was flying on the ice, and he did not look out of place in the NAHL. Were those your first thoughts as well from seeing him play for the first time? Because it seemed like he was a very quick fit.
Yeah, I had watched him through the high school tournament here in Minnesota, and I had seen it's like, okay, like he's really competing with these guys. So I was curious to see how he was going to fit here. And I know I had talked with our coaching staff. He had been here last year for the end of the season and playoffs, and they had said high praises about him. And the second he steps on the ice, I mean, he got to start his first game. He was centering the line of, as I mentioned, Jackson Riley and Jake Sprates, and they put him on that line because Jake Sprates is probably one of the fastest people in the division. I didn't think there was going to be anybody who could keep up with them. And then I saw Hirsch flying around, and my goodness, he was, like you said, he just looked like he was ready to go. He almost had a couple of goals in that first game, ended up getting one that Saturday here in Austin, and he is not slowed down whatsoever. Actually had a 2-goal performance in North Iowa 2 weeks ago against the Bulls to help the Bruins get a third period comeback against North Iowa, but it's just been dominant since being here.
David, goaltending in this series is going to be, I think, the story of it in the end. You look at all four goaltenders on these teams have had stellar numbers, whether it's by goals against average, in which case Swedes and both your goalies are top six, and Will Mazenko, the outlier, is only ranked 12th in the league, or save percentage, where they're all, Swedes is second, Axelson's third, Solomon sixth, and again, Mazenko 17th with a 92 save percentage. So goaltending, no matter who goes for either team, is great. I haven't talked to Cody Campbell yet about his plan. You have any insight into what you guys are thinking yet, or probably continue to rotate like they did in the regular season, just like the Toros?
I have absolutely no idea. I've maybe heard whisperings of what maybe the plans are, but the way that these last couple of weeks have gone, I wouldn't be surprised if we went with that rotation because it's really been working, putting Jack Solomon on Fridays, Carl Axelson on Saturdays. There's a reason we started calling him Saturday Night Carl Axelson because he's just been absolutely incredible. Actually, recording against North Iowa his franchise record 6th shutout of the season. That's 6 shutouts in just under 20 games. He joined the team back in December, and he's already had just an incredible season. Jack Solomon tying the single season franchise record with 5 shutouts. I mean, just 2 absolutely brick walls in net. I mean, and then you look at you guys, that Friday night game here in Austin, Lucas Vedin, I mean, he's what kept you guys in that game. The Bruins just absolutely
saves, I believe.
Something like that. And we're absolutely peppering the net, and he's standing on his head, just keeping every single thing out. Now, credit to the Toros defense, who was really giving him the time to be able to collect and find some of those pucks and be able to make some of those stops and take away the second chances. And then Will Mazanko coming in that Saturday against the Bruins out in Minot, he having himself an incredible game, only allowing 1 through. And it was one where you could say he scored on himself, kind of kicking it back into the net. But again, this is going to be all about goaltending and see which goaltender can stay hot through this series.
Yeah, Ken, you bring up goaltending, and frankly, I think that's what this series is going to come down to. I think given how even these sides are, I think there's going to be 1 or 2 games where there is a goaltender that just stands on their head. And you saw it with Lucas Vedin out in Austin, 50 saves on 51 shots. Despite the Bruins out shooting the Toros 51-29 in that game, the Toros pick up the win. And I think those are the type of games that are going to determine this series. So with that, guys, I want to hear both of your predictions for this series. Who's going to win it and in how many games?
Ken, I'm going to let you take this one first.
I think it goes 5 no matter what. And a 5th game, hard to predict. But I mean, I've worked for the Toros for 14 years. Can't say anything other than go Minot. Toros in 5.
See, The Bruins broadcaster in me doesn't want this series to go to 5. Now with home ice advantage, I mean, if we get a game 5 here in Riverside Arena in Spamtown, I mean, I think this place is going to be rocking, and it's going to be a hard place to play. Both places are difficult to play. I think it really comes down to what that opening weekend is going to be. Obviously, if you get that first sweep coming up this weekend, you get those 2 games. I think whoever has that, they've got a good chance of winning it, but I don't see anybody winning, back-to-back games early on in this opening series. I want to say Bruins in 4, but as my hero Shannon Sharp likes to say, Bruins in 5.
David, you stole my line there because I totally agree. Neither of these 2 teams, I think, will win 2 games in a row, which means I think the winner of this series takes games 1, 3, and 5. And I mean, you know who I'm going with here. I'm going with the Toros. I think Lucas Vedin stands up on a couple of nights. Goaltending is going to be a key factor throughout the series, but I think the Toros get it done in Game 5 in Austin. But nonetheless, this is going to be a fantastic series. So, David, Ken, thank you so much for hopping on with me this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Great to hear from David Coyer and Ken Odes. We appreciate them taking the time to sit down with me this morning. One thing that I thought was interesting that Coyer pointed out was that the Austin Bruins have not given up a power play goal over the last 2 weeks of the season. Took a look, and they were 20 for 20 on the penalty kill to finish up the year. Now, those games did come against the North Iowa Bulls and the Minnesota Mallards, who finished in 7th and 8th in the Central Division, respectively. But without a doubt, the Bruins take some momentum into the postseason as we take a look at the upcoming dates for rounds 1 of the playoffs. This Friday and Saturday out at Riverside Arena in Austin, 7:05 p.m. puck drop. So tune in on Facebook, YouTube, or NATV. But then back home the next week, Friday, April 25th. Tickets are on sale for Game 3 right now. So make sure to go get your tickets. Season ticket holders, there's an offer in your account until April 21st. After April 21st, those tickets will be released for anyone to buy. So make sure if you want to claim that seat, do so by April 21st. The following day, Saturday, April 26th, is Game 4 if necessary. And then if it goes to Game 5, which me, Ken and David all believe that it will. Me and Ken obviously thinking the Tauros take it in 5. David thinks the Bruins will take it in 5, but that would be out in Austin, Minnesota on Monday, April 28th at 7:05 p.m. It's tuning up to be a great series, but with that, that'll do it for us today on Tauros All Access. Tomorrow, we'll be back with an interview with head coach Cody Campbell. To buy those tickets for Game 3, scan that QR code. It'll take you to the Tauros link tree. You can also buy merchandise for that game. And with that, we'll see you tomorrow.